All right, this is Olivia Titus with the Danville-Center Township and Bicentennial Community Public Library and the our Bicentennial Oral History Project. So to start things off, can you state your name and age for me?
I'm Suzanne Whicker. I'm 77 and a half.
All right, wow.
As the little kids say, I'm 2.5 now. I'm 77 and a half.
Oh my,
Yeah.
27.5 years young.
Yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome. So for the record, do I have your permission
Yes,
to record? Okay, excellent. So when and where were you born?
I was born at Methodist Hospital, but I came from here to go to the hospital, and they came home, bringing me home. And I went to an apartment on East Broadway.
So basically born and raised here?
Born and raised here.
Fantastic.
Left for a couple of years after I got married and then came back.
Okay. So could you think back and describe how Danville was as you remember it in your childhood?
You know, my grandparents grew up, they built a house on North Washington Street. And I remember going to Grandma's house and getting to walk to Dinsmore's basket shop. And Grandma had a basket that she would carry, and we'd go get groceries, and then we'd come back. I'd always get a treat while I was there. And then Noble Dinsmore was the owner, and he was a jovial guy who liked to talk to kids. So he would talk with me and joke with me and so forth. And then we'd walk back home. And the neatest thing was the fact that along the street, the house on Washington Street that sits kind of in the middle of the street, you have to curve around it a little bit, was Thompson's house. And they had flat rocks, big pieces of rocks. And they had built them into the bank of the yard.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could go and sit on those little stones
Oh.
as we were walking home. I was probably maybe 4 or 5 years old at this time. And it was just really kind of cool to get to walk to town to get some groceries and then walk back. And they were only 2 blocks off the square, so we weren't walking a long way.
All right. So this grocery store was on the square?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know where it was on the square?
Yes, it's Dinsmore's was the basket shop on the northeast side of Maine and Washington.
Okay, so I'm trying to kind of.
Edward Jones is there now.
Oh, okay. So it's right next to the Republican then.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess other than obviously aside from Dinsmore, it's how has Danville changed since your childhood?
Well, needless to say, since my adulthood, it's even changed. But back then, you could walk the streets, you could ride bicycles. We lived in the apartment until I was 2 years old. My dad built a house just outside of Danville on 36 or 39. And in fact, he built the house and he was very proud of building it himself and spent $2,000 building that house back in 1948. And then the tornado came through and it only took a little bit of a porch off of the front of our house, but it destroyed Coatesville and several other places along the line. And my grandfather's store was on Main Street, west of Jefferson Street on Main. He had a radio and record shop, and his building was completely destroyed by the telephone company that was next door. And it collapsed inside his building. And so I honestly don't remember, but I assume he closed that at that point in time. And he was near retirement age, so I guess he quit the business at that time.
So I was going to say, were you alive during the 1948 tornado then?
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow. So I was going to say, what do you remember about it?
Well, I don't. I was 2 years old.
Oh, yeah.
So all I know is what stories they've told me.
Yeah, and you guys...
And read things about the history of the town and so forth. And
I know there's also the Palm Friday tornadoes that kind of came through here. Do you remember anything about those?
It wasn't... Well, that was it.
Oh, there were two tornadoes that came through. There's the 1948 Good Friday tornadoes and the 1960 Palm Sunday tornadoes.
Yeah, well, I was raising kids then, so
busy with those.
And I guess I don't know what year. I do remember that it happened then, but I don't remember that much about it because I don't think it destroyed that much in Danville.
Yeah, I think it was more further south. It might have been again Coatesville that got it.
Yeah, I don't remember.
So let's see what else we have.
Well, I'm growing up in town back then. By the time, well, when I went to school, first grade, it was down at the elementary school, well, the government center now,
Right.
down on Washington Street.
Yeah.
But there were all 12 grades there in that school at that time because first graders started there on the ground floor, as they call it now. And then everything from all the way up to seniors were in the same building at that time. There was a big gymnasium in there, which they took out to put the offices for the government center.
Yeah. So government center, like I'm trying to think of like I've noticed that town hall just like, which was I think made from like the Hargrave museum, not museum, the Hargrave Hall
Yes,
from
in 1963.
And is that one? I know it's also the one that's kind of further south this way. That's also this government center. Like which one was the?
On South Washington Street.
Okay.
Down here.
Yeah. So that's the one.
That's the building that was a first grade through 12th grade.
I didn't realize that. I heard that it had been like turned into a converted to a middle school room, but I didn't realize that it had.
No.
Wow.
They couldn't convert it. And so they built, well, actually, they used that for South Elementary for a long time.
Okay.
Because in 1963, Danville became merged school with New Winchester.
Okay.
And that was our 8th grade year. And so we went there as 8th graders to the town hall, as you called it, on Main Street.
Yeah.
That was our high school, but we were 8 through 12 there.
Okay.
And we were the first class to go all the way through from 8th grade to 12th grade. And the New Winchester kids weren't exactly thrilled to be able to come here their senior year.
Right.
And I don't blame them. They were just a group of 24 kids thrown into a group of 80-some of us, and they didn't know most of us. They didn't want to know most of us. They wanted to go back and graduate from New Winchester, where they'd gone to school for 12 or 11 years.
I can't, like, gosh, I mean, you're describing your class sizes, 24, around 80, like, that seems so small compared. Like,
Yes,
compared to, like, I went to a small high school, like mine only had, like, at least my graduate class only had, like, a couple, like, 400 students when we were graduating, but, like, that's small compared to some of the other high schools, and, like, that, and, like...
But it's not small compared to...
Yeah.
Back in that day, yeah. So, the consistency, that what consisted mainly in school was the dances in the grid room, which is down in the basement of the town hall, and they use it for the athletic center now.
Yeah.
And we had sock hops, as we called them back in the day. And at one point in time, I don't remember how old we were, but we got to go upstairs in the, I don't know what that room was called, but it's above the Visit Hendricks County office on the square right now. And there was a great big dance hall up there.
Whoa.
And the college had lots of dances up there.
Oh.
And of course, the college was gone by the time we were growing up in town. And by the time I was growing up in town, the college was gone. And that's why they converted it into our high school.
Right.
And then used the old Bostic gym, and that was our gymnasium.
Right.
And we had another gym in the bottom of Hargrave Hall, which is still there. And I think the police department uses it for training.
Yeah.
But that was our girls, well, it was our health class, gym class.
Yeah.
And you got to wear these lovely gym outfits, and we got to play half-court girls basketball down there. And none of us really wanted to be there, but we were there, and we had to do it for an hour, or however long a class was back then.
Right.
But dances down in the grid room were real neat. And there was a little room off to the side as you go down to the women's restroom now, or to the grid room, athletic center, sorry about that. They call, I don't know what it was called, but it's where we had our after lunch, Snickers and Diet Cokes. That balanced itself out. If we were eating the Diet Coke, drinking the Diet Coke, it made offset the Snickers that we were buying. So that was our dessert.
Well, it's like you say, you eat a bag of Doritos on the weekend that doesn't have any calories, right?
Right. You're telling yourself it's a healthy thing. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And then I started working at the Rexall drugstore when I was probably probably a junior in high school.
And where was that located?
Well, that was on the north side of the square,
Okay.
and where Diesel's bar was. It's all sitting empty right now.
Okay.
And there was a building to
I think
the west of that, and there was a building next to it, which was, I don't know what it was. I'm going to say it was a bar. And the wall collapsed and the ground was not unsecure, so they tore it down, and that's what the parking lot is now.
Okay.
Next to Diesel's. But that, I stood in the doorway of that because I couldn't do a lot of things. I couldn't fill, it was a pharmacy.
So yeah.
But they had magazines and candy bars and
you could sell
Band-Aids and that kind of stuff. I could ring that stuff up. But other than that, I couldn't do much. So I stood in the doorway and watched the traffic go by on 36 and waved at my friends that were making the circuit. And at night, that was our evening fun. You'd make the circuit of driving around the square, then you'd go out to the Dog and Suds, which you have no idea where that's at either.
Like, kind of give me an idea, like where like will be.
It was out there where the Edwards equipment is now.
Okay.
And where they store all of the extra tractors and mowers and stuff.
Right.
That used to be the Dog and Suds. So you go out there and get a root beer, and then you come back into town, go through the park and drive around, go back up to the square, down by the school, and then back out to the Dog and Suds just to see who's hanging out tonight. That was the excitement of town.
I mean, hey.
Now there were other kids who did live in town, and they got into more trouble than I did. But I lived outside town, so I didn't get to walk to town. I didn't ride my bike in town, which there were a lot of them who did. And we had class lunches together. Our graduating class does, and I'm listening to some of the guys' stories about, we went down here and we did, and they did terrible. No, not terrible. They did things they shouldn't have been doing. So we need to get some of them in here to confess their stories.
Yes, you gotta like badger them.
I will. I'll work on it. Yes. Let's see what else is interesting about growing up in town. Well, the guy that had the store next to the drugstore was Floyd Hadley.
Hadley's a name you hear a lot.
Yes, it is, and he was a joker, and I tend to pick at people and joke with them also. So he and I made a great pair. He would come in and give me a hard time, and then he'd go back in the back with the pharmacist and they would talk, and I don't know what they talked about. It was guy stuff, I'm sure. Stuff that they shouldn't have been talking about, but they did. And then he'd come back out and he'd go back over to his shop because it was a men's clothier store.
Oh.
So you could go in there and buy a suit, a shirt, pants, tie, socks, I suppose. I wasn't buying that kind of stuff, so I don't really know what was in there, but he was a funny guy, and he was a lot of fun to be around. And then on the square, as I brought this map for you, there were a lot of shops, and you could do your shopping in town. You go to the drugstore, get your drugs. Oh, and then Lawrence Drugstore was on the east side of the square, and they had a soda fountain.
Oh. And
so you could go in with booths and everything. So a lot of kids hung out over there, but I was on the other side of on the north side of the square. And then,
I'm thinking that's on the east side. So I'm thinking, like, what's there? There's
the gallery.
Yeah, the gallery.
That's where the drugstore was.
Oh, okay. Like that place has been through quite a bit. Like now it's an art gallery. Apparently, I looked this up earlier because, apparently in the early 2000s, it was a candy shop for a while. It was a drugstore before that sometime, apparently, though.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And down there where Frank's is at, there was a radio and record shop.
Ooh.
There was a jewelry store. The bank was on the corner, which is where the law office is now.
Okay.
But that was a bank. The First National Bank, I think, is the name of that one. And in the back of our yearbooks, we used to have sponsors.
Yeah, we've seen,
and so in the back of those books, you can see the
First National Banks behind them.
But there was a dress shop on the north side of the square, Mingles, And then Crawley's was two doors down, I think it was, and they had fabric and that kind of stuff, so you could go in and buy fabric to make clothes,
Okay.
which my mother made 99% of my clothes, and I always wished that I could buy real clothes from a store.
Right.
But she was, and other kids in my class wished that their mothers could have sewn so they could make clothes for them. So no matter who you are or what you're doing, you always want something somebody else had.
Right. So, do you mind discussing a little bit about the Rotary Club? So, it says that you mentioned before that you were like the president of Rotary Club for a
Once in a
while.
while. Once I was, yeah.
Like
in the year 1999 to 2000, because our year
Okay.
starts in June or
Okay.
July and ends in June. So I was there for the turn of the millennium.
Oh.
And I joined the Rotary Club in 1994
Okay.
when I was trying to start a personal business. I was selling clothing, I was selling cosmetics, I was selling jewelry, and
A little bit of everything in fashion.
yeah, I did for a while. And I tried to make that business grow. Oh, I was doing color draping to
Okay.
tell you what shades of colors look best on you.
Yeah.
Because there are lots of shades of red, all the way from poppy red all the way to flag red.
Right.
Now, which one of them is best suited for you was up to looking at your skin tone, your eye color, and your hair color. And all of those make you of we call them seasons. They're different brands of this kind of thing going around.
Right.
And it was called Color Me Beautiful back in the day.
Oh.
And so I had 100 fabric samples, and I would sit you down in a mirror, in front of a mirror, and I would hold up a poppy red, and then I'd hold up a flag red.
Yeah.
And if we watch your face as I move those fabrics from one to the other, you all of a sudden start seeing something different in your face. There'll be maybe yellow circles under your eyes, or dark circles, or a little yellow around your mouth, or your cheeks would get real flushed and red with the wrong colors.
Yeah.
So when you'd see the right color, you'd go, oh, wait a minute, this looks better.
Yeah.
So then we'd switch over to different greens, different blues, different yellows, believe it or not. And every color has, I'll say, an opposite. So you become a season. You're either a summer, winter, spring, or an autumn. And once you understand that, if you go and start buying clothing that are in that palette, all of your clothes go together really nicely, because you don't have a burgundy shirt and a pink peach, because those don't really coordinate well together. Maybe get a rosy pink and a burgundy, and they blend better and make you look better. I always tell people when I'm doing this that I said, there's a beautiful picture. It's called the Mona Lisa. Now, you could take that picture and you could frame it in just old barnwood. Now, that wouldn't accent and complement the picture.
Right.
So you frame it in something that's more beautiful, gold and bronzed and ornate and so forth. And that sets that picture off.
Right.
Well, I tell people, I said, well, you're just the picture. Now what we're going to frame you with is going to bring out your beauty.
Right.
So I was doing that first, and then I started selling clothing and jewelry to go with it, and cosmetics to go with that. And so it was all of that. And I said something to my husband, who had been a Rotarian and had to quit because of his job change, and he had to travel so much. But I said, I'm just not getting in touch with people here in town. And he said, well, why don't you join Rotary? It'll help you get to know other people in town, which I felt like I knew a lot of people in town, but I didn't know the business owners.
Right.
I knew maybe their wives, et cetera, because of my business.
Yeah.
So I joined the Rotary Club, and it was like, this is really cool, because there were a lot of really neat people. And then they also, during a meeting, we eat lunch, which is always a good thing to do around lunchtime.
Yeah.
And then we have a program of some sort. We've had people from the library come and talk about different things that are going on at the library, and different things that maybe other people would be interested in. Or maybe we have someone from actually the Optimist Club. They came, and their president, one of the guys from Optimist, came and talked to us about what they do and why they were established and so forth. So interconnection with service clubs in the
Yeah.
town. But then we have the program, and then we eat meat and then leave. But it's also a service organization.
Yeah. So what are some things that you guys like do in the Rotary Club?
Well, Rotary International is started in 1905 in Chicago with a man named Paul Harris, and he wanted to get to know other business people in the Chicago area.
Right.
So he called 3 other guys and said, let's have lunch and let's get to know each other. So I don't remember what their professions were, but let's say there was a doctor, there was an attorney, there was maybe a banker, and maybe another type of business of some sort. They got together at lunch and started talking about, well, these are some of the issues that I'm facing, and these are problems that I'm having. And somebody else sitting right next to him says, well, I can help you with that because I've already had that issue. And this is how I solved that problem or whatever. So they got to realizing this is really a good thing. So they got together and started bringing other people in. And that's where the first Rotary Club began because they rotated from one person's office to the next and the next week and the next week and the next week. So Rotary International started in 1905. And now I don't have the numbers on my top of my head, but there are Rotary clubs in every country in the world.
Whoa.
And generally there's always at least 1 or 2 or 3 clubs in big towns.
Yeah.
Like Indianapolis, I think they have like 5 clubs. Some of them meet real early in the morning, some of them meet for lunch, and some of them meet in the evening. Depends upon the people that come together to say, my mornings are just too busy. I can't get away.
I guess it also depends on what you prefer, breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
That's exactly right. Some people, I'm not getting out of bed until 10 o'clock, so I don't want to go anywhere early, but I'll come over at 7 o'clock at night and have a meeting. But there's always some kind of piece of information, a program of some sort to help people understand what's going on in your area or state or in the world.
Yeah.
Because we've also had exchange students coming to our club from other countries. In fact, my husband and I and 2 other couples in Danville hosted a high school senior.
Okay.
And he came and lived with us for 3 months, then went with them for 3 months, and the 3 months for the third family.
Where's he from?
Germany.
Oh, okay.
And so my sons, because they were all, I had a senior, a junior, and a freshman in high school at that time, and he was a senior. So all 4 of the boys got to know each other and got to learn about each other's culture.
Yeah.
And in fact, while he was here, he learned how to drive because finding out how much it was going to cost him to learn how to drive in Germany was going to be expensive. So his father said, learn how to drive in Indiana, and then you won't have to learn how to drive in Germany. You can just get your license. I thought that was smart of his dad. So anyway, then Rotary started a foundation, and any money that you give to the foundation is put into the foundation and is not touched for 3 years. They draw interest on it, and then the interest on that money is then spent somewhere in the world doing something. And a lot of our initiatives started with polio.
Oh,
back in the day when polio was quite the thing, they learned that there was a vaccine that you could give orally. And so they started campaigning through the world saying, we will come and vaccinate your children if you will let us. And so we claim responsibility for eradicating polio in the world. And we're, as they say, we're just this close because there are a couple countries, Pakistan and Iran, somewhere in the area, they won't let us come in and do this because they don't believe in medicine and vaccines.
Okay.
And you have to vaccine the child.
Right. You don't get the permission though. You can't do it.
That's right. Or you won't even be allowed in the country because we think that's bad. Well, it's not bad. It's just Some
Right.
countries, leaders just don't feel that that's the right thing to do.
Right.
But then we do other projects. Clean water,
Mhm.
Mexico. Our club has helped sponsor clean water in Mexico for towns and
Mhm.
cities and people who have to walk immense amount of miles to draw their water out of a dirty creek
Mhm.
where they've also been urinating upstream. And so now
Right.
you've got that water, and that's where a lot of children get very ill and die because of the polluted water.
Right.
So if we can help them understand how to clean water,
Mhm.
then they are healthier. But one group the one that we sponsored, they had figured out how to solar create energy
Mhm.
to pump the water from down in the valley where the
Yeah.
creek is, or the well, the lake or the river,
Right.
up to the top of the hill,
Ooh.
so that the people living on the top of the mountain
Don't
hill
have to go.
don't have to walk down to get their water
Yeah.
and then walk up. You know, I can't imagine doing what some people have to do when
Right.
all I have to do is turn on the tap and I know it's clean and it's filtered and I can drink it. And
Yeah.
it's even cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's even.
Or hot if you want it to be.
And not only that, but I can go to the bathroom and I can flush and it's all gone.
Yep.
Rather than going down to the stream and
Take a nice hot shower or a nice relaxing bath.
yeah, I could do that too. Yeah. So we have done that. And then there's a park on the west side of Danville, right on 36.
Is it the W.S. Gibbs Memorial Park or?
Oh no, that's down in,
Oh, okay. Trying to think out.
it's Jack Willard's park.
Okay.
He was a fireman. He was the fire chief for years and years. And it's right next to the fire, where the administration office for the fire department was. They use it for something else now, but it's right there on the corner, the Jack Willard Park. And it's a passive type park where little kids can come and play on different, and it's all themed with
Oh yeah,
firecrackers.
I've seen it now. Yeah, I know where that is. Yeah.
Yeah. So we built that in conjunction with the town.
Mhm.
We have also actually back in the day when what's his name? Billy Gill was going to help put together, and he was a contractor. He was going to help build a pool in Danville at Ellis Park.
Yeah.
So he talked to some of his Rotarian friends we had in town and said, well, could Rotary help find money to help build this park or this pool? And we did back in that day. And ever since, we've been donating money to the Parks Department for maybe renovation of the dugouts and the baseball fields down in the park. We've done lots of things for the park. The playscape that's in the park.
Yeah, I know that.
Our logo is on that.
Okay.
And we helped put a trailhead with our logo on it around the trail. Now it's all taken out when they put the water treatment plant down there. Not treatment, but the water down at the bottom of the hill park.
Yeah.
So we've done a lot of things for the park. The mural on the south side of Danville.
In the alleyway?
The alleyway.
Yeah, I saw that earlier.
We helped sponsor, well, actually, this was a district thing because in Rotary, there are districts, and there are 3 districts in Indiana. And our district will match money that we put up. So we raised $5,000.
Oh.
Then the district matched us $5,000. And at that time, Ann Johansson was the director of the Downtown Danville Partnership, and she had applied for a grant that any money we raised in town, they would match. So our $5,000 turned into $20,000, which is what it cost to do the mural on the wall and put the lights up and the tables and so forth. And then we completed it and added on to it, so it's all the way back on the brick wall in the alley.
And I think actually kind of a fun fact, that's going to be part of the areas that we're going to have, like, hopefully these oral interviews eventually playing out over speakers over.
Cool.
So yeah. So
Cool.
yeah.
So because of Danville Rotary, we got that done.
Yeah.
And then I talked to Ben Comer, who's now his family owns the building that the mural was painted on. And there's a fire escape up there. And the fire chief has now told them that they have to take the fire escape down because it's unsafe. and we have a big archway metal thing that has a Rotary emblem over it as you walk
Okay.
into the alley. So
Ooh.
yeah, we'll be seeing more when they get the fire escape down. But anyway,
Right.
it's another whole story. So I joined Rotary back then. Got to enjoying the camaraderie of the people, learning lots of things with these programs,
Yeah.
and getting involved in the parks and the all these things helping.
Getting closer into the community.
Yes, yes. And then somebody had a wild hair idea that wouldn't it be cool if we had maybe a hot dog cart or something like that we could serve hot dogs out of and earn money, and then that money could be used in town to do different things. And I looked at the two other people, actually there were three other people sitting there with me in a Rotary meeting, and we were just having some social time and some drinks. And they said, I think that's a great idea. And I said, that is dumb. Why would we want to have a hot dog cart? Especially knowing how much it was going to cost. And the more they talked, the more I'm like, this isn't half bad idea. So we actually ended up buying a hot dog cart, and we have now been selling hot dogs on the first Friday of the month during the cruise in on the square.
Yeah.
We have our hot dog carts sitting up here on the northwest corner of the square. Southwest corner of the square, and we sell hot dogs at a very reasonable price, so that when you bring your little kids up and you want to feed them something, you don't have to pay $15 for a meal, which is not expensive. But when you get a kid's meal and they're like, I don't want that, and now you've just wasted $15. Our hot dogs are $3.
Yep.
And they're really good all beef hot dogs.
I think I've had one of your hot dogs with one out. I think it was like for the Destination Danville.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we got rained out this year.
And last year.
We had a lot of hot dogs.
So when did that start then? Like what year did that officially start?
This is our third summer.
Third summer. Okay.
Yeah. And it's been very profitable. In fact, the first year we had it, we'd sell hot dogs. We sold hot dogs at the county fair.
Ooh.
In the grandstand area, only when they were having an event like the tractor pulls or the demolition derby or those types of things. So to find volunteers to work at that is getting a little tough, because some of us are getting a little older and just really don't like to do that. But I have been, even though I thought this was a dumb idea, I'm the one that's going and purchasing all of the supplies and stuff for the hot dog cart. So it's becoming quite the thing.
Yeah.
And you can pull it behind something, so that's where we take it out to the park or to the fairgrounds and sell our hot dogs there. And we made enough money to pay off our hot dog cart the first year. So it was like, this was cool. This worked out really well. And then that money we've been giving back. Then the latest thing that we're doing is some passive income. We don't have to do anything. All we have to do is go empty out this coin well that was just placed in the front inside Dips ice cream shop. Okay. Which used to be Baker's Hardware. Yeah. Many years ago. Well, not many years ago, but anyway. We put that coin well in there, and kids can go and drop in coins in these slots. And they go round and round and round and round and round and round and go down the bottom. Mommy, give me more coins. I want to do this. Daddy, give me some more coins. So we're going to make money off of this thing.
I mean, it works. I mean, I remember as a kid, like, they had some more things, like, in, I think, like, Center Mall. Yeah. And you just, like, as a kid, it's like, ooh. Yes. And me and my sister, like, I go on one side, she went on the other, race them then. So, you guys had
there are 4 slots on this. So you could race a quarter, a nickel, a dime, and a penny, and see which one goes faster. Ooh. And there is a difference. One of them will go faster than the other, so you have to take all your coins and go up there and let them go. Let them rip.
A genius idea. Yeah. And it's Dips. That's some...
Yeah, and the ice cream shop has been just an absolute gold mine for the town, because on the night of cruise-ins or any event, a concert or anything else on the square, there's a line all the way out the door for this place because ice cream is so good.
Oh yeah, and especially at days like these where it's like hot outside.
Go in there, it's air conditioned, and you can sit down in one of the booths or sit in the actual window in
Yeah.
the Baker Hardware because
Yeah.
that's where they had all their stuff
Yeah.
pictured, and that's where they have a bar type thing in front of the window, so you can sit in the window and watch people walking by and see who's in town
Yeah.
for the concert. Um, but it's really nice, and they also this is a commercial for dips now. They actually have really good sandwiches too, so you can get a sandwich and then top it off with your ice cream cone as dessert.
I know.
Not exactly what we'd call the best healthy wise, but
And
ice cream's ice cream.
A nice
It's a
little
treat.
treat.
Yes, exactly. So back to the Rotary Club, and then in 2000, or 1999, president of the club at that point, well, no, the secretary of the club at that time was Leon Martin. He owned the Dairy Queen, the established Dairy Queen that is still in the old contract. And once you buy the franchise, you have to abide by some of the rules of the original franchise.
Right.
And that's why they can't sell the burgers and stuff like that.
Okay.
Because they
had the original franchise, not like the kind of newer stuff. Okay.
Right. So they can't go to that other type. But anyway, he was his wife went to school with my mother in high school, well, all through school. But anyway, he's well respected, honorable guy, but he was a fun guy to be around, and he just told it like it is. And
right.
I like that because I generally do that too. And he said to me privately, he said, Suzanne, I need to retire as secretary of this club. And he said, I don't know of anybody that would be any better than you. And I was so honored. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So I took it on. It's been 24 years now that I've been secretary of this club. And it's time. I'm looking for a new member to become secretary when I say, I'm done. So if you'd like to join Rotary, you're young and we could get you in, and then I could get you to be secretary.
I mean, to be fair, like in college, I was the secretary for my sorority, so I got some experience.
Well, but being secretary also means you get to work on the hot dog cart.
Fun.
You get to buy all those things, and then you also get to run the video. I'm 77 and a half, as I told you, and I am sometimes referred to as the techie in our Rotary Club. And that is not true, but the young ones know what kind of headache it can be, and they're like, oh, I don't know how to do that, and I know they're lying, but I continue to struggle with the IT because we have a video that plays on a big TV in the meeting room so that they can keep up on what's happening and so forth, and their volunteer opportunities.
Okay.
We actually are also volunteering now down at Lucas Oil Center.
The raceway or the stadium?
Yeah, the stadium.
That's
what I'm looking for. And the trials that are going on there this week, the swimming trials.
Yeah.
We can go and so all we're doing is wiping down tables in the club area where people who have got nice seats, they can come up, get something to eat in this bar area, this dining area. And then they can go back and watch the game or whatever, the swimming trials or whatever.
Yeah.
And so all we're doing is wiping down tables and we're getting paid to do it. So it's like, this is another way of making money.
Yeah.
But we also, speaking of making money, we gave away $58,000 last year to the community in service projects and just people asking for donations.
Yeah.
Of course, I can't think of anything right off the top of my head, but I made a big poster and we framed it and we're going to hang it over the coin well at Dips. So you can go and see who did we donate money to last year.
Awesome.
And then actually July 1st is the start of our new year. So we will put up, the sign will be replaced by how much we've given away this year and who we gave it to.
All right.
What else do you want to know?
Well, I guess we're kind of getting close to the top of the hour here, which is kind of
very fast, isn't it? Yes.
So I guess as the town has changed, how do you think like its needs have changed? Like for Danville.
Everybody who comes to live here says they like the small town atmosphere.
Yeah.
And with the courthouse being the center of the county, we have, it's a pretty courthouse.
Yeah.
And with the square, they block off the three sides of the square a lot of times for different events and so forth. So you still have that hometown feel. Now, kids don't ride their bicycles as much anymore. In fact, I've often wondered why we have school buses in Danville, because all the parents drive their kids to school instead of putting them on the school bus. But we're still paying for school buses. It's like, even outside of town, I'm paying for Danville school buses. But it is what it is. Public transportation for the kids, and they need it. And I'm not saying that they don't. It's just, put your kids on a school bus and let them ride the school. You learn a lot riding a school bus. Some things you don't want your children learning, but
one thing I learned riding a school bus when I was like up into like middle school was like learning kind of how to like directionally read the roads, which made driving a lot easier when I started learning how to drive. So,
well, my grandson, when I was driving him to school, because he went to Cascade and went to practices of some sort, and I drive him down there, and he'd be reading a book or something all the way, and I said, if you don't pay attention to the roads, you're not going to even know how to get to school after you get your driver's license. And he was probably 12, 13 at that point, and he's, Grandma, I don't need to know where the signs are. I will have a GPS in my car. And this was 30 years ago, well, 25 years ago, and I'm like, oh yeah, you're probably right. And of course, now we do have those. And one of the things that Danville Rotary is going to be doing is they're going to be installing heart-shaped bicycle racks in town.
awesome.
And our Rotary Club is going to sponsor those, and we're paying for them. And on the bike rack will be a sign that says, this historic spot. And I'm going to take Baker's Hardware, for instance. Okay, so one might be there. I don't know where they're going to be placed, but if it was placed there, this sign would have a QR code on it. And who knew what a QR code was 10 years ago, let alone 70 some years ago. But anyway, so you scan the QR code and it will tell you this spot used to be a hardware. This spot before it was a hardware was something else. So you can now take and there'll be a map, so to speak, I think is what I'm understanding, so that you'll know where the next bicycle rack is to go learn more about history of the town. And this is a bicentennial project too. And then eventually they're going to have these, maybe one rack, maybe not even a rack, but maybe just a plaque in front of a home that now will tell the history of this home. The president of the college built this house, and this is what it was used for then. Since then, it's been used for this, and so forth and so on. So you can take a bicycle tour around Danville or a walking tour around Danville and read all these signs and learn about the history of the town.
That's so fascinating.
I think it is too. And with Miles Farms, and I don't know how many hundreds of homes that are going to go out there, people are moving there because they like the small town atmosphere. Because it is still a small town, even though we have all of these additions that have got all these houses in them. I'm hoping, and I think the town is anticipating, linking all of those subdivisions, we'll call them, together so you can walk from one to the next to the next. And maybe historically, then we can put a sign out there on Miles Farm that said, this was originally a horse farm. Race horsing. Sulky racing. And the guy that owned the farm had also raced horses in Kentucky at the Kentucky Derby and those kinds of things. But before that, I don't know who owned it before that, but I have heard that that house was actually part of the Underground Railroad. So if you've got a plaque out there that
tells you all this
stuff, it's like, whoa, look at this, what was going on in Danville 150 years ago or 200 years ago.
Yeah.
It's going to be really fascinating.
Yeah.
And our Rotary Club said, sure, we'll sponsor that. And then as they add on to them, don't tell all of them, but we'll probably continue to pay for those bicycle racks and the plaques just to get our name on the plaque also. Saying Danville Rotary was helping sponsor it.
Yeah. I think that will be a fantastic kind of area to start off. Like, you're guys are doing something really fantastic for. So
every time you buy a hot dog, you're helping put up a plaque.
Yeah. And have some doing a fantastic part to help contribute to Danville's history outside of this. So thank you very much, Susan, for this. Suzanne, sorry. Yeah, thank you very much, Suzanne, for this.
You're welcome. Now my job is to go and find other people who will come and sit down and talk about something else.
Well, hopefully when people listen to this, they'll be inspired to join.
Or want to come back and correct them. You know, Suzanne said this, and that really isn't the truth. And I've got classmates that'll do it.
Well, thank you again so much.
You're welcome.